All right, and we are live on the podcast. This is the Blacklist Sessions. We talk about everything business, music, and video related. And I'm very excited to have a couple of great guests on today. We have Debbie and Amy. Hello.
Hello.
Hi there.
Good to see you guys. So I guess the first thing, the best thing to do would probably be to provide everyone that's listening with a bit of background about what you guys have been doing.
Okay, cool. So we've got a company called Eat Shop Love. It's a market and events company. And we have an amazing event called Ann and Roma, which is a food and wine event, which we have been working with since last year with the Australian Botanic Gardens at Mount Annan. This year we actually have taken the event on as our own, and we kicked off in May with a 2-day food and wine festival, and we are actually taking that quarterly. So we're back on again on the 24th and 25th of August, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it sounds pretty exciting. So what's some of the things that I guess go into creating such a big event that you get so many people to?
Oh, God, where do we start, Amy? We have to find amazing vendors, look at what people are asking for. We get a lot of feedback from our guys that come out and tell us what they want, which is really important. And then making sure that the public actually know that the thing's on would be our next big thing. So that's always hard, is finding the good people and then getting them out there to check it out.
So how do you go about that, like letting people know that you have the event on, for starters?
We do a lot of social media advertising. We go on local radios, let them know of events, but we've got a big following on social media and it gets the word out pretty well.
Yep. So is social media, you'd say, the primary channel that you go through?
Certainly. Definitely what brings the crowds. Awesome.
Do you look at like radio or TV or anything like that, or is social media the way to go?
Social's probably number one, definitely. We've got we kicked off in April this year with a local marketing program with C91.3, which has worked really well for us. It's talking to a different demographic, I think, than what we were attracting on social. And then local press. We do a little bit of work with the local press as well. So yeah, a bit of print media, but definitely I would say digital social is where it's at.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be the way to go, I think. You know, I spend most of my advertising dollars on social. Yeah. Just the way with content and everything, you know, it's certainly the way to, I guess, get the most bang for your buck and most engagement from people. Yeah. I found especially. So what was it that got you into event management and starting this company?
I took a redundancy from a corporate gig, and whilst I was on my you can't work for that competitor for a little while leave, I talked to a mate and just wanted to start a Christmas market. I am a Griswold. I love all things Christmas. And back at that point in time, there wasn't a great deal of markets around in the local area. So, yeah, I kicked off with just what should have been a one-off Christmas market that then turned into an ongoing market, which kind of then led into everything else that we now do.
Yeah, that sounds pretty crazy. So, Amy, how did you get on board?
I actually met Deb through events. So my husband DJ'd for her for one of her events about 4 or 5 years ago. And then I picked up some casual work working in events, and now I've become part of the office team creating the events as well.
Awesome. Sounds pretty exciting. So what do you think it was that really drew you towards, I guess, going to events as opposed to like staying in a corporate job?
Probably the largest thing was, my kids are adults now, but while they were kids, there wasn't a great deal on locally. It was, if you wanted to go and do something cool as a family activity on the weekend, you kind of got in the car and stuff was on at Homebush, or it was on at Parramatta, or it was on, Southern Highlands or in Sydney, but there wasn't a great deal in Macarthur, and, we're huge. Macarthur's ginormous, and it was like, what do you mean I can't just jump in the car? And I love markets, so I was always out checking out different markets, heading out. Besides Cobbitty, there wasn't really a great deal on. We used to have an awesome market that was run by the Lions Club back in the day out at Camden that I used to go to religiously, and those sort of things had stopped and nothing else had really started. And then also just activities and stuff that's cool for kids to take the whole family out to, that everyone can kind of take part in. So yeah, really just came from that, and we're adding new stuff that we do all the time, and that's kind of our theory, is that we don't really want people to have to leave the great area that we're in. We really focused on Macarthur and heading into the Illawarra and Southern Highlands is kind of our next 1 to 2 year plan, and for the same reason that we really just want to be people to be able to have fun and do stuff that doesn't cost a fortune close to home. Yeah,
I think that's a really important point, is just having stuff that is close to home, because people are so lazy now. If they can go to something in the local area, then that's fantastic that is available. So I guess with all the expansion plans and all the expanding you guys have been doing, when did you realize that you need to scale up the team a little bit more from where you were initially?
When I realised that there is only 24 hours in a day, and all 24 were pretty well full, and the 8th day of the week was also not appearing. So it just started with having people casually at the actual events and giving us a hand. We, alongside our events, we also run pop-up retail shops. So we had a team that were crossing over between the two, and they might do a couple of days in the shop, and then they might come out and help me run a market. And it was really quite ad hoc. And as both sides of that business or the business kind of formalised into being one side's purely retail now, one side's purely markets and events, and then just working out of that team who suits what best. Amy plays it down when she says she helps a little bit in admin. She's kind of our media marketing guru and keeps me sane. So just looking for that skill set that if I have it but don't have enough time to allocate to it, or there's stuff that other people do better for you, is just going and finding them and letting them come do it for you. So that's really, I guess, where we're at. And as we get bigger, we kind of look at, do we need more? What does that look like? And scale up based on that.
Yeah, great. So, Amy, you juggle quite a lot of hats. So what's some of the things that you do within the business?
So the social media, finding new stores, proposals for events, everything on the ground, being the person responsible on the ground.
Not lying on the ground.
No, not lying on the ground. maybe just when Deb's not available, her next in charge type thing.
Great.
So,
that sounds good.
Yeah.
So what does it take on to put on a major event? Because there's so much that would go into it with like insurances and making sure you got the vendors organised. Like, what's some of the I guess the things that people wouldn't realise which go on behind the scenes, which create a successful event?
I think it's a lot of collaboration. So we're really lucky. We pretty much work with all local vendors. So our insurance team are local. My graphic designer is local. We literally are able to share our concepts with people that are in our literal local area. And we're working on stuff in some cases 12 months, 18 months out before it's even happening, which I guess the people walking around at the event on the day would have no concept of that. And that's good. I don't need them to know. We just want them to come out on the day. But it's, things like proposals on new ideas. We're very fortunate that we work largely with the Australian Botanic Gardens at Mount Annan. So we'll come up with what we think is probably not a too crazy idea and create a proposal on that, and then pitch it into the team, and then the team at the gardens then need to take that to people for sign off, and it all goes through those stages, and then we negotiate contracts and things like that. And then working in venues like that are amazing, there's also a lot of compliance. We need to make sure we're leaving the place that we're using in the exact same way that we found it, and that all of our vendors that are involved know that. We laugh at the Botanic Gardens at Mount Annan that our vendors drive up now and they know they're not allowed to drive on the grass, no cars on the grass. Whereas you may go and do an event somewhere else that's in a paddock where you can drive on the grass. So it's just different things like that are really, really important, and making sure that everybody that we use and that's involved in our events understands the stuff that we've had to agree to make these things happen in some of the amazing locations that we work with.
Yeah, it sure is a lot of compliance these days.
Yep.
Awesome. So yeah, it's obviously a very, very big job putting on events like this, and so many different factors to look at. What are some of the mistakes that you think people would fall into in trying to put on a big event like Annan Roma or something like that?
Gosh, what have we done wrong?
Probably
How long
thousands.
have you got, Jay? Look, some of the stuff that we get wrong, we've learnt, particularly with our kids events and things like that. We were trying to go down a path of a ticketed event for a while. We still do them every now and then, but people prefer to come to a day out that's a free day out and then use the expenditure that they have in however they choose. Whereas, we did have a little while where we were trying to do pre-ticket things, and then actually it helps us in terms of knowing how to allocate for catering and activities and things like that. So we now do our ticketed events on a bit of a smaller scale, and then our large scale events are generally free entry, and we find that works really well. People are happy to come out and check something out because they haven't had to fork out before they walk in the door. That's a big one. And then, I guess for us it's been learning things like the market market changes constantly. People want different things. When we first started our night markets, there was no such thing as food truck night markets in the area. Now, you can get food trucks popping up all over the place. So it's constantly reinventing that wheel. We're very proud of the fact that we run live music, generally local live music at all of our events, and we give our musicians an opportunity to showcase what they're doing as well. And I think that probably sets us apart from what other people are doing, and we really try and keep that as a strong focus, that it's not just coming and grabbing food from a vendor or buying something. They're actually there hanging out and enjoying, a bit of a concert while they're at it.
Yeah, well, I guess it's a great way to engage a lot of local businesses too, and bring that real community vibe together, which I think is really important, not just from a business perspective, but also just socially.
Yeah,
I'd say. Cool. Oh, well, that's great. So, I guess we'll turn to branding.
Yep.
So, how important do you think branding is towards creating a really successful event?
I think it's huge. I think people, as Amy said, we're very fortunate to have a really strong following on our socials. We're about 17,000 across our two main platforms of Instagram and Facebook, and people will know that stuff's on because they see Eat Shop Love on it. Mm-hmm. And that's taken 5 years to build, but it has a name in its own right now. And even for me, when you become a parent, you become your child's name's mum. Now it's Debbie from Eat Shop Love, as you'll hear on the radio. But, it really does happen that, people will, we meet at networking events or things like that, and they'll know the company before they actually know me or Amy. So that's pretty cool. Like it's nice when people go, oh, you're Eat Shop Love, or that's where you're from. So I think branding's massive. Rather than just having an event name, we actually have to make sure they know it's us behind it as well. Yeah,
reputation, I guess, is a really big thing. Very important when it comes to business. So Amy, what was the process of growing the social media to where it is today? Because it's quite complex and people try all kinds of different things, and some do really well, some really struggle. So what do you think the process was that really helped you?
The more events that we actually do, we generate a bigger following. We let people know at the events that we are on Facebook. When we share our events, it goes we share the actual event to pages and build the interest. Mm-hmm. And then by sharing the vendors on there, that brings more people to our page, and just having regular updates. And
great. So it's kind of like a real collaboration. Yeah. Okay. That sounds cool. So you said that you've got a lot of plans in the future to grow the business into new areas. So I guess one of the things that I really focus on with my business is making sure that there's multiple growth vectors, and there's different avenues, different revenue streams that are coming in all the time. So is that something that's quite important to you guys as a business?
Yeah, 100%. So as I said, we've got retail and we've got pop-up retail, and we've got markets and events. We're also at the moment putting together some programs to actually support our small businesses that we work with. One of the really big things that we find, and even from starting the retail side of it, we started that because we had some really awesome market stalls who could never have got themselves into a shopping centre on their own, but they literally came on board with us as a group. And that's kind of how our pop-up stores originally initiated. What we're finding at the moment is, even when we're sharing, we do a lot of organic sharing, and we take pride in promoting all of our vendors at our events and actually showcasing them on our own socials. So it's giving them exposure they wouldn't normally have. But whilst doing that, we then discover that a lot of them don't have a social following. They don't have a page. They have no idea in some cases how to even set that up. So that's something that we're actually about to branch into, is being able to work with them and help them do that with some marketing support from us. And we can actually say, hey, we're not experts, but we can show you what we've done, and even just get them at that entry level point that if they then want to move forward with it, there's avenues that they can do.
Yeah, well, I think that's a really good idea actually, because the way the world's going, unless you have like a Facebook or an Instagram or something like that, you basically don't exist.
Yep. Absolutely.
Unless you're like a business that's based on location, like a food shop or something, like in a local community. Like, it's going to be so hard to generate the business unless you have a Facebook, and you're always posting the content on there, and quality content as well, like on top of that.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I guess that's a really good area to go into.
Yeah.
So I guess what's some advice you'd have for young entrepreneurs that were looking to start events and do different things like that? What would you suggest to them?
Be resilient. Well, I have what I call go-get-a-job days. They're less frequent now than what they have been over the last 5 years. But, it definitely happens where sometimes you just, think, why on earth am I actually doing this? I'm going to go back and get a real job. And then I remind myself that it is a real job and it gives other people real jobs. And, we keep going because of that. But, yeah, sometimes it's really tough, but it's well worth hanging in there. And I think probably for me, if I was to say to someone else who's looking at doing something similar to what we do the research. A lot of people start doing things similar to what we're doing. If there's too many of us, then, it doesn't work. But if you can do things that are different, and that's kind of, I guess, where we're at now, is constantly trying to recreate what it is that we are doing so that there isn't someone else still doing the exact same thing. I would say absolutely go for it. We're good. We've got great people that have similar companies to what we do, that we collaborate with and we share ideas with, and we all support each other. And then, sometimes we come up with ideas that are a bit crazy and they don't work, and that's okay, because that's how you learn what does work. So we've kind of had to learn that over time as well. Or sometimes Amy goes, no, that one's really out there. You're not doing that one. She's the voice of reason. But it is good to be able to have people that you can rely on. And it's also really good to just get in there and have a go.
Yeah, awesome. So I guess something that a lot of entrepreneurs, I guess, face is balancing like the work life with the family life. Do you have any tips of how, people can best do that? Because it is pretty grueling. Like, I know myself and my own business, there's times where I do 100 hours a week, and it's just like working from like 6 a.m. all the way through to midnight. You just do that all week. So how is it that you balance those two things?
Sometimes better than others. Don't ask me for the next 3 weeks, because we've got another enrollment coming up, so I will be non-existent at home. But I think it's just really important to make sure, look, whether I was an entrepreneur or whether I was working in corporate, I've always been a bit of a workaholic. So I don't think that changes if it's a person's personality. But I think one of the biggest things I've got out of it is, like I said before, learning the stuff that you're good at or the stuff that you're not good at, and being able to give that to someone else. And, putting, I guess the biggest thing I probably see from the vendors that we work with and other business owners that I see is actually learning to put a dollar value on your time. So whereas I might think it's really important that I sit and finish this, if I actually look at it from a dollar hour perspective, it's more worthwhile for me to go home. Go home and spend time with my family, because otherwise I can stay there till 10 o'clock every night. Yep. So it's actually, for me, what worked is actually looking at that as a dollar per hour thing and going, well, if you're paying yourself, how important is it that you actually sit here and do this? Well, how much money is it actually going to generate, or how much extra business is it going to generate if you stay here till 10 o'clock, Debbie? Probably better to be fresh here tomorrow with, your hat on and doing the right thing. So that's probably, the biggest lesson. And yeah, realizing that, no one's going to stand up at your funeral and go, she was really good at getting her invoices done on time. So yeah, you may as well go home, or if friends have got something on or your family's got something on, go. Just make sure you allocate the right amount of time to looking after yourself and spending time with people. Yeah,
it is a real cost benefit analysis, isn't it?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess, what are some of the strategies inside Facebook and Instagram that you've used? Like, we've talked about like a few different ideas. Like, how important is, say, video and photo content been to selling like what the event is?
We judge it by what the previous reactions are. So we do have success with videos. That seems to be the point right now, which is grabbing more people's attention. Just really good looking food for our food festival. So sometimes I'll get pictures from vendors and just think, there might be a few other ones, and then choose what I think is just visually appealing for someone to say, wow, I want to eat that. And then they end up, tagging all their mates to say, we've got to try this. And
yeah, cool. Yeah, I find, especially myself, like videos just been the best. Photos are really good, but I think video is the one that really converts and gets the ROI for the business, which is the important thing, I guess. Cool. So let's talk a little bit about future plans, because you said that you're looking to expand down into Wollongong and the Illawarra. So what's going on there?
We want to do the majority of our events across the Illawarra and the Southern Highlands. So we're always in talks with looking at what we can do. And for us, it's that whole location thing. We don't want to just go anywhere. We're a little bit selective about what that looks like and what will hold our events with the size of some of them. We're very excited that we've actually just collaborated with a company called The Colour Frenzy. So from September, we actually kick off a program with them where we will be nationwide. So they run an amazing 5K, or if you're like me and can't do 5K, you only want to do 1K, you can. So, you know, it's literally a walk or a crawl or a stroll where you end up beautiful and colourful, and we're actually collaborating with them and running family fun day events alongside their runs, and we kick off that in Wollongong in September, and then pretty much go to every state except Perth over the next 6 months in multiple locations. So that was really cool, and that literally just came from a collaboration conversation on one event, and we just really were aligned with that particular business and what they're doing and why they're doing it. And we just went, you know what, we're just going to come everywhere with you. So that's we're excited to be doing that and kicking that off from September. So that's kind of a large scale thing that's happening on one side, and then our regular events that we do, the monthly markets and food and wine festivals. We're kicking off wedding expos from September as well, and they're the sort of things that will become, I guess, signature Eat Shop Love events that we can then take to local areas. And then in terms of Amy coined the name for our family festivals on board with Colour Frenzy, and they're called Eat Shop Run. So
that's great.
Eat Shop Run kicks off from September as well. So there's definitely lots of exciting things happening.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So that's, I guess, what you're talking about now, and I think one of the reasons that what you guys are doing is just going so well is because of that collaboration. It was just like a chance meeting that you said with this company, and you had similar views of what you wanted to do, and that collaboration is what kicked off such a big thing. That's something that I really want to try and stress to a lot of people in Australia, is that you can grow the pie through collaboration, because so many people I see that they have a real fixed mindset, and they're like, oh, well, there's only this much pie, can't make it any bigger. And I think that's one thing that in Australia, a lot of businesses could do really well, is to expand that. I mean, the Americans, whenever I've gone over there, they seem to have really gotten that, and there's a lot of collaboration. That's why so much great tech comes from there. So I'm hoping that in Australia, we can get a similar vision along that line, and we can get lots of companies like yourself collaborating with different companies, and that's where the real magic comes in. Absolutely. No, I would completely agree. Yeah, awesome. Well, it's been really good to chat to you guys. If someone wanted to learn more about Eat Shop Love or any of the events that you're doing, how would they best get in contact with you? Look, probably through our amazing website, created by, again, a wonderful collaboration. We have a great designer from Camden, Kravoska Design, if I can she's pretty good. Give her a plug. I believe highly recommended from Jay as well. So we've got a great website, which is eatshoplove.info or eatshoplove.com.au. You'll find us on either of those, and we've got, your wonderful little contact us forms on there that you can find us, or again, obviously on Facebook, just under Eat Shop Love. Shoot us through a message. We're always open to having a chat and seeing how we can help anybody out. Yep, so get in contact, Eat Shop Love. I'm pretty sure if you Google Eat Shop Love, it'll come up. We're there. Great. Yep. So get on all the channels, Facebook, Instagram, and there's a lot of great events, a lot of great food. I know that there's so many great vendors. When I was down at Ann Roma, it's a fantastic event. So yeah, if you like food, which everyone likes food, and you like wine, nearly everyone likes wine, but there's beer as well. So that's good. So yeah, if you're into that sort of thing, then definitely head down to one of the events. These guys definitely run a great event. So thank you guys so much for coming on. It's been great to have a chat. Thanks heaps, Jay.